It's the best podcast ever. Welcome, you're listening to the Neds. Yes.
What's up? What is happening, everybody? I just got out of the shower, so weird thing about me is when I'm in the shower, I never manage to close my eyes tight enough. So I always manage to get soap in my eyes. It's a weird thing. Now, people who have met me in person may be aware of the fact that I have very large, luxurious eyelashes. Hold on. Let me see if I can get closer to the camera and show them off for you here. I have very luscious eyelashes. I actually used to get made fun of when I was a kid. People accused me of wearing mascara. And back then, at that point in time, wearing mascara was a faux pas. Wearing mascara was a thing boys were not allowed to do. Hold on. I got to mess with my microphone here. Let's have a little musical interlude while I mess with my little microphone. Yeah, let's do that. Hold on.
In the U.S. was made easier by the rather early innovation of what's called neo-imperialism.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I am sorry for all you audio only folks. Yeah, like I'm over here and visually I got stuff going on because I am doing things. What is going on here? What do I have going on? That was weird. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Messing around with my video stuff. And actually what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to wind up not looking at it at all whatsoever. But yeah, I do have some changes to my video setup. Seems like often I'm going on and on and on about changes that I'm making to my video, and I'm messing around and doing stuff with it. God darn it. Hold on. Now my microphone isn't cooperating. Can you hear that jet passing overhead? There was an airplane passing overhead. Don't know if my microphone is picking it up. I do run a noise gate, but it is a very slight noise gate. I used to run an extremely aggressive noise gate. But you can tell there's like proof of aggressive noise gates in the audio, and I just hate it. I can't stand it. Can't stand the way it sounds. So I've actually got it down to a very subtle noise gate. It's just like right at the bare threshold of the ambient noise here in my home office. And the percentage is, yeah, it's just as slight as could be, just because I don't want there to be the fan and then, the normal creaks of the house. Houses make noises. Houses have their own ecology of sounds and smells, right? There's an entire life world of every house, and it is unique, and it's something that when you're physically located in someone's house, you just kind of attenuate to. And it is what it is. It's part of the phenomenological experience. But when you're listening to an audio file or trying to watch a video, like when you're trying to listen to a piece of content, in quotes, you often pick up on this, totality of stuff, of stimuli, of phenomenological input. And it's weird because you are dislocated from it. You are severed from it. You are not in my home. You are not in my office. You are wherever you are. So when the noises start to intrude, because they are kind of severed from the totality of the experience of actually being physically located in my house, because you're only being like teleported with one fraction of the sensorium, it becomes conspicuous and it becomes a distraction. It becomes unpleasant. Even there are a lot of people who have a hard time listening to audio when there's other noises going on in the background. There are also some people who have a hard time watching video that has like distracting bits going on, and I understand it because it is odd, it is strange, it is uncanny, it is a certain kind of uncomfortable. It's a certain species of discomfort that we here in the future must reckon with. And I know there are a lot of people who think about it and write about it and study it and this and that. And that's cool. And it's also definitely something I think a lot about as well. And it goes into doing all the stuff that I've done up until this point, trying to create media, trying to do something with the form of content. I don't know. It's just cool. It's just interesting. So I try to be aware of all these things to minimize as well as I can the barriers to engagement with the type of things that I share with the world. It's similarly, I know I have certain affectations and certain preponderances in my speech patterns that I try to reduce if I'm writing a piece that I intend to be actually read by people and engaged with. I will do my best to make myself legible. And now there are also times where I think sacrificing quote unquote legibility, I think legibility is often fetishized to the detriment. So this question of like, what is this? Are these media projects? Or is this just content? That's an ongoing question. It's been asked many, many times. I'm definitely not going to come up with any final answers. But it's definitely like an ongoing question. And I think the quest for infinite legibility is largely, maybe not even largely, because largely would kind of insinuate that it's like the key factor. And I don't think it's the key factor. I think it's one of a slew of factors. But it's a very powerful drive to be legible to everybody and to be able to be consumed by all far and wide. Like the quest for that is part of why we are reducing ourselves into nothing more than content. Now, I don't know, maybe content isn't even the right word. The reason I'm using content is because, on the internet, we have content creators, YouTube videos and podcast episodes and blog posts and, all these things. They're referred to as content, live streams. Like all this stuff is referred to as content, and people who spend their time doing these things are referred to as content creators. But maybe that's why I'm using the word content. Maybe content isn't the word I should be using. Maybe it does obfuscate or muddy the waters a little bit because, we have this distinction between form and content. And so saying content, somebody might mean, it's just kind of meaningless drivel. It's just kind of part of the endless churn of the internet. It's not real. It doesn't matter. But somebody also might mean, the meaningful contents of a piece of media or a media property or a blog post or a live stream or a podcast episode or whatever. So finding the right word is important. I'm definitely haven't found the right word. I'm definitely not satisfied to just say content is evil. But yeah, anyway, like I do think it is true that so much of what we do with ourselves as writers, as speakers, as thinkers is reduced down to just content. And you know, part of why that happens is because we're on this kind of infinite quest for legibility to the other. So there's always sacrifices, there's always trade-offs you're going to want to make when it comes to like legibility and when it comes to actually saying the thing you're trying to say. And it is true that how you say something is often just important as, if not more important than what it is you're actually saying and all these things. So these are just, you know, they're open questions. And they're things that I think every quote unquote content creator kind of grapples with, you know, and everybody has to find their own singular solution. Winston, don't do that, buddy. I have to shut the door. Winston likes to bark at the neighbors. So I got to pause just so there's not a long pause. I'm also going to grab some tea. So I shall be back shortly. All right. We should be back at it. Anyway, don't know what I was saying. I mean, I know the general kind of topic I was dancing around or whatever, but don't know exactly where I was when I left off. But anyway, yeah, so I do put thought into the way everything I do sounds. I do put thought into the way it looks. And I do put thought into how I hope it's received. But of course, you cannot control how you're received. So that, you know, it all does reach a point where it's just like, you know, I've done my best. I've done what I can do. And I'm just going to send it out into the wild blue yonder. I'm going to send it out in there to TV land. Once again, if you can see this video, then you'll see that I'm on TV right now. And this is, it's a cool little TV frame. Took a photo of it years ago in a town called Gray Mountain, Arizona. And it has been featured in some of my quote-unquote content. It's been featured in some other people's content as well. I stopped using it because I do think it is silly. Like it's silly. It's kind of cringe, right? It's like, well, first of all, it doesn't look good. First of all, it's not, the photo is not in like super sharp focus. It was kind of a throwaway photo. I actually got really good photos because the TV frame was at this like abandoned motel on the side of the highway. And I used to stop off there pretty often. It was a pretty popular location for graffiti writers. So they, you know, there's tons of more murals. There's tons of murals all over this abandoned motel. And it is near one of the many reservations. And so there's a lot of political art. It's not just like, oh, graffiti is so trashy. You know, a lot of people go there and make giant murals that have a pretty direct political message. Usually dealing with, you know, the fact that the reservation system here in America is horrible. But I don't want to get into that right now. I don't want to talk about those kind of politics. But anyway, so I've gone to this motel, you know, dozens of times, maybe not dozens, but at least a dozen. I've done photo shoots there in the past. The last time I drove by it was, you know, just a few weeks ago. Yeah, I've got a whole lot of good photos from there, and I have some good photos of this TV set as well that was there. It was there for maybe a year because I drove by there, you know, every once in a while because it is out of the way, but it's actually on the way to Salt Lake City. I used to travel up to Salt Lake City fairly often. Anyway, TV was there for maybe about a year. So I have several different photo shoots that include this little TV set. It's not there anymore. It hasn't been there for years. But I have some decent or better photos, better than the one I used here to make this little TV frame that's around the video that I'm appearing in right now. So it's just not very sharp. It's not level. It's skewed. It's silly. But I like it. And then I took it into my photo editing software, which I do not use Photoshop. I have not used Photoshop in a long, long time. I currently have been using Affinity Photo and have been using Affinity Photo for several years at this point in time. Now, if you know what that is, high five, shout out. If you don't know what that is, it's just Photoshop. It's just Photoshop you can buy instead of having to have a subscription to. So yeah, and they also have, several other products as well, and you can get the whole package with, design and publishing and photo processing and all that stuff. Anyway, so I took it into my Photoshop application, my photo editing application, did a little mask and cut it out, and so it's just the frame of this TV set. And it looks like shit. It looks like shit. But I like it. There's something about it that I like. Don't know what it is. And I'm sure I could probably figure it out, probably wouldn't take that long to figure out why I like it. Maybe some of you watching or listening have an idea as to why I like it. Maybe you could leave that in a comment down below. What do you think? Why do I like the things that I like? Is it just aesthetics? Is there something else going on? Do I feel some type of sentimental connection to this? Who knows? I don't know. Anyway, but I stopped using it because it is silly. It doesn't look good. I could take the idea of having some type of frame around my video and actually do it better and actually make it look better. But that's more work than I want to do. I am content for now. Now, definitely in the future, of course, I hope I never, finish my quest for pleasurable aesthetics. But for now, I'm content with it just the way it is. But the reason I stopped, having it on my video and stopped using it is, I think because it does kind of clash with certain things, and it kind of clashed with the direction I was going in at the time, which I don't even know what that is as far as like my aesthetic focus and my overall vision or whatever for my channel and my quote unquote content that I put out. It definitely did clash with some of the other things I was doing, some of the other experiments I was messing around with, and it also clashed with other people's kind of like aesthetic vision. It was kind of conspicuous. It was kind of like a sore thumb. It was like, well, that doesn't look good. And it also doesn't really go with the flow. And so I think that's why I stopped using it. But I also know that I stopped using it because it was like embarrassing. Like there's like this moment of like cringe where I'm like, this kind of exposes me in a way. Like the fact that I'm putting this up here, I don't know, it betrays something of the like thought that goes on behind the scenes, some of what I am thinking about and what I'm doing when you can't see me, when you can't hear me, dear reader. And that's weird. Like to just to sit and ponder, all the people you watch on the internet, all the people you listen to on the internet or on TV. Or the radio or whatever, like all the people who create quote unquote content that you consume and enjoy, or maybe, you enjoy disliking it or whatever. All of those people are people, and they do things when you're not observing them. So it's weird. We get, I don't know, kind of conditioned into this weird like panopticon relationship where, these people are phenomenologically, they only exist for me in this moment right now. Your favorite podcaster, your favorite video essayist, your favorite live streamer, your favorite writer, your favorite lecturer, your favorite host. They are just a function of you and your identity and your gratification. And we're all conditioned into this weird kind of solipsism. And you think, the entire internet, the entire media ecology revolves around me. And it's weird because it kind of does. Everything does revolve around you as a consumer, as a potential customer. It's weird. I don't know. And I don't know exactly how to say what I'm trying to say. I think I've been trying to figure out how to say it for years, and I will continue to try to find a way to actually express what I'm trying to express. But the entire world, the world of the commodity form, does revolve around you in this weird way. But it's true that like the world of the commodity form and the real actual world are two different worlds. And we have to like find a way to like recover the difference. We have to find a way to recover that split, because a lot of the time, we're stuck in this world of the kind of commodity form that does very much revolve around us as kind of particular consumers or particular, vessels of, potential economic congress, production and consumption. We have to like fight to get outside of that world and get back into the real world that revolves around the sun, and that very much doesn't revolve around us as particularities, worlds in which we are like individually insignificant. And it's because there's billions of us who are all individually significant. Like that is where we derive our significance. Like we constitute something larger than ourselves. But it's true. You can go through the world today, and very rarely come into contact with the world in which that is true, where we like necessarily constitute something larger than ourselves. And this is because kind of the media ecology, and the way, all this kind of economic stuff has progressed, and where we find ourselves today is you can be a productive consumer, yet largely exist in a world in which you are the most important person, not only the most important person, but the only real person. The modern world is like this horrible solipsistic hellhole. And it's just crazy, super crazy. So like, that's kind of crazy to have that, that moment, that thought, realizing, oh, other people are people too. That's always a bit uncanny. Maybe sometimes you get a bit of vertigo. Maybe it's a bit unsettling. It's also important, and I think we need to stay there, and I think we need to return there as often as we're able. So maybe, that's a bit scary for me is the aesthetic choices that I make in my quote unquote content kind of betray that I am a person. To you, dear reader, dear listener, dear viewer. And that's weird. I want to keep up that protective wall that separates me from you. And so there's that. But then there's also this thing where it just simply betrays the fact that I'm trying. I'm trying to make choices that people will appreciate. Like I'm trying to make aesthetic choices that people will like. I'm Like appreciate's a weird word because do you mean like understand or do you mean like? And often, almost all the time, really, when I use the word appreciate, I mean understand. But it often gets taken to mean like or approve of. And so yeah, sorry, just got a text message that I had to check because it has to deal with my dog. Winston. Any who. So yeah, like I want to make choices. You know what? I do want to make choices that people understand. I do want the things that I do that I see as like artistic choices or aesthetic choices. I do want them to make sense to other people. So I do want people to appreciate them in this way. But I also want people to like them. I want people to approve of them. I want people to see, excuse me, I got the burps, dude. I want people to see the quote unquote art that I make and like it and think it's cool and want more of it. And this takes us to effort, like the idea of effort. It's not cool to be seen as putting in a whole lot of effort. And we all know this, right? You know, there's that thing, try hard, try guys, the concept of a pick-me girl. That's a weird concept. I think it's a pretty big concept that deserves a lot of discussion. And I'm sure, of course, it has to do with, you know, biases and bigotries against women. But it also has to do with like effort, like girls who are just trying to get the approval of guys. Sometimes are just dismissed as being pygmies. It's not cool to try hard. And so maybe I stopped including this little TV screen on my stuff because I didn't want people to know that I was trying to look cool. I didn't want people to know that I cared and I put effort into this stuff. You know, you really kind of want to have this quote unquote authentic feel. And you don't want to betray the fact that this doesn't just come naturally. You weren't just, I didn't wake up like this. You know, like there's that thing like I woke up like this. Hashtag no filter. Blah, blah, blah. I actually had a photo series titled I Woke Up Like This, and it was kind of about I don't know, I don't even know what it was about, but it was I at the time I was interested in people who put a lot of effort into their appearance and the people who put very little effort into their appearance, and then the like people who put little effort into their appearance can still care about their appearance, and you can put a lot of work into like being healthy and being happy and kind of managing your appearance that way, and then you can also put like very little work into being healthy and happy, and just put all the work into like the momentary, like I have to pick the right outfit, I have to have the right hair, I have to do the right makeup, I have to look and act and sound this way. So like just like different, like where is the effort located? Is the effort located, you know, on this side of the appearance or on that side of the appearance? And what's your relationship to it? It's an interesting question. Yeah, I had a photo series titled I Woke Up Like This. And yeah, it's just not cool. It's not cool to let people know that you care. It's not cool to let people know that you try hard. It's not cool to let people know that you might not be perfect. And this is crazy, dude, because we all know, and we can all say without even batting an eye, like we can all say, of course, no one's perfect. Like we can all say that. But I think a lot of the time performing that speech act is actually sometimes like a disavowal of like this deep, deep, deep insecurity, this deep, deep, deep fear of being perceived as less than perfect. And I empathize. I do. I understand the idea of perfection, the idea of authenticity, the idea of cool is a very, very, very powerful ideological tool that is used to kind of support the hell world that we live in today, this kind of solipsistic battlefield where, you know, you have to be some kind of machinic thing if you want to survive, if you want to get by, if you want to even think about the idea of potentially moving up, whatever that means for you, because that's always relative. We have to be, you know, these inhuman machinic monsters. We can't be human. And that's a shame, because humans are wonderful. I think of myself as a human, or at least an aspiring human. And you know, the biggest thing about that is that we necessarily constitute something larger than ourselves. To say that I think of myself as human, or at least an aspiring human, it means that I see myself belonging to something larger than myself. The promise of Nance will never culminate in me. The promise of Nance is only ever realized in the other. So it's a shame. It's a shame that the world we live in today, material conditions have forced us into this world where we cannot engage in a human fashion, you know. The foreclosure of the ethical dimension. It's a shame. I think a lot about it, and I've been trying to write a lot about it too, because I'm just, theoretically there's things I want to work out, because I think there's a lot of important things that I would like to say and that I would like to discuss with other people that get, you know, backburnered for other more immediate pressing issues. And that's the thing. Like, there are immediate pressing issues that we can't ignore and we can't hand wave away, and that do have to be addressed. So yeah, it's just all bad all around. It just sucks. And I do believe, you know, the overwhelming majority of people are just trying to deal with that, trying to do something about it, you know, legitimately trying to make the world a better place than the world that they, you know, found themselves born into. So hiding all that effort, it's definitely a thing I've done. It's definitely more, you know, very likely it will be a thing I continue to do, to hide the effort. I've talked on this podcast and on my YouTube channel about how when I started making videos and I started doing stuff, you know, on camera, I would hide the microphone. I would keep the microphone just out of frame, and I would talk a little bit louder so the microphone could still pick me up, but it was just out of frame so that you, the video viewing audience, weren't aware that I was even speaking into a good microphone, you know, or good, you know, a microphone that's better than just the shitty headphone, or the shitty headset microphone, or the shitty laptop microphone, or whatever. I wanted it to sound good, but I didn't want the viewers to know that I was trying to make it sound good. Yeah, it's silly. Like, we disavow all our effort, because it is a very painful thing to have to reckon with the fact that a lot of things are difficult. Because a lot of things are difficult, there are some things that many of us will never achieve, by virtue of who we are and where we come from and the way our lives have kind of played out up to the present moment. Like, there are just things that are no longer possibilities for each and every one of us, and that sucks. We do want to live in the world where everything is possible if you put your mind to it. And so it becomes like a weird double move. Like, the ideology of effort becomes a weird double move. And it's been discussed by smarter people than I. It's been going back long time. You know, Du Bois with The Talented Tenth, and Adolph Reed is huge on this. Like, essentialization and essentializing certain traits to populations and categories of people based on identity, as a way, like, as a political tool, as an ideological thing to, like, not just disavow unpleasant things, but also support horrible, horrific things that are happening presently, this idea of the quote unquote right stuff is responsible for untold horrors. Yeah, it sucks. Anyway, I'm actually kind of bummed out right now, so I'm gonna pause recording again and come back to this because I didn't want to be a bummer. I wanted to have a cool little podcast episode, and now I'm over here talking about like horrible, horrific things, and I don't want to do that. So I'll be back hopefully shortly. I'm gonna finish my tea. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Probably gonna pet my dogs for a bit, and then we will return. Thanks for listening, folks. I will be right back. From your perspective, I won't have gone anywhere. I'm back. As you can see, I'm wearing my sunglasses, my rose tinted shades. I love these sunglasses. They're nice. They're cool. Actually, you can't see. Here's the deal. And I know I've talked about this probably too much. I talk about this probably more than anyone cares. But like the video, the podcast, I don't know. It's a thing I'm doing. Like I'm over here recording video, but I'm uploading this to my podcast. And I want the podcast to exist primarily for people who listen. Because there are people who just listen, you know? That's why it's different. It's different from a live stream. I don't like making YouTube videos. That's a thing I don't do. I don't make Charlie, get out of there. Get out of there. I don't make YouTube videos. I don't make video essays. You know, I don't make YouTube stuff. I do live stream on YouTube. So I think of that as like people who are there watching it. And then of course, you know, it lives in perpetuity. So there's the people who come to it after the fact. But it's different. Like it's a different modality. It's a different thing. I don't know, man. Look, phenomenologically, what is this doing to me? What the thing that I'm doing is folding back in on me as well, and it's just interesting to me, and I talk about it, but I understand that it's probably, you know, you guys fucking okay, that's annoying. I'm very annoyed right now. My watch is being stupid. You guys probably don't want to hear it. So I just got to stop. I got to catch myself and like stop making reference to as you can see, and when I do, I need to just let it slide, not make a big deal out of it. And it is what it is. And there's a bug in here, dude. Oh my gosh. Things are going terribly for me right now. I do need to pause this though. I need to get my tea. I'm going to get this stupid bug and I'm going to take off these rose tinted shades. I'll be right back. All right. Oh shit. All right. I'm trying it again. Trying to get that sound effect without a double up. I forgot about doing like the sound effects, dude.
I like doing sound effects.
Nance likes doing sound effects. Nance likes doing sound effects.
That's like the one, that's why you guys all listen to my podcast, right? Because you guys are like, dude, Nance knows how to...
Nance knows how to work a soundboard?
Nance knows how to work a soundboard.
Better than anybody else.
That's why we listen to his podcast.
Yay! We love Nance's podcast because we love the way
He works the sound. Now, I know that's not true.
But I have fun doing it. I enjoy doing it. It's fun. And I forgot. I haven't done it. I don't think I did it my last podcast episode with Benjamin Studebaker. It was a very good one. Talking about disagreement and stuff, and also kind of talking about digital subjectivity. I don't know if that term was ever like explicitly brought up, but it was very much like implicit in the conversation. Digital subjectivity and like the world we live in today, and what does it mean to be, you know, a digital subject? Blah blah blah. What is this doing to me? What is this doing to me? Recording a podcast, it changes you. Listening, excuse me, got the hiccups. Recording a podcast changes you. Listening to podcasts changes you. All these things are kind of happening. It's the peanut butter in the chocolate. It's the transcendental. And it's always going on. And it's this like never ending process of feedback loops and and how do they change, and what goes on, and what even am I in the first place, and all that stuff. And these are interesting questions. And they're questions I've been, thinking about and asking for quite some time. And a lot of other people are thinking about them and asking them as well. And that's what I love about this space in which we find ourselves. So it's really cool. Talking about, I guess, effort for the first half hour or so of this podcast episode. I was thinking about effort, and I actually was hoping to talk about effort. I just didn't want to go to such like a, dark place. I didn't want to be a bummer. Wanted to actually talk about something because there's a moment right now that I think I see. Now I'm not certain. I'm not the type of person who is certain of many things, if any things. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows anything, really? I surely don't. So I'm not certain. I'm definitely not the type of person to be certain about mere hunches. If things, correspond with other people's opinions, I'm more likely to believe them. So I'm definitely, this is just a hunch. So I'm not out here making a grand proclamation. It's a hunch, but there has been recently, some other people, dude, this bug is going to drive me insane. Why are there bugs in my house? It's Arizona. It's dry and hot. There's not moisture. Why are there bugs? I don't understand it. They're in my house. Why? And they're like flies. Why? Why are they in my house? I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to freak out, dude. I don't know. I got to figure that out. There's bugs in my house. It's annoying. Anyway, there have been a few people who have given me reason to believe that this is more than just a mere hunch. Now, two of those people are like real people that I know and I've had conversations with recently about this subject, kind of in a weird roundabout way. The subject of like effort and ideology and our relation to it. It does seem to be the case that people feel like we are living at a pivotal moment in time. Things are changing. Conditions on the ground are changing. We're entering a new epoch, a new era, if you will. One of my good friends recently said, hold on. I had to throw something away and the trash can is over in the corner of the room, so I had to lean over. Good friend of mine recently said he thinks postmodernism is dying. Now, in my most recent episode with Benjamin Studebaker, I problematized, postmodernism and the notion of postmodernism and my relation to the term and the notion. And I kind of said, yeah, I usually use it in a good way, even though a lot of people use it in a bad way, and it tends to be confusing for people. And maybe I should use it less. And I think that's true. Maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't. Also, I don't know. I haven't decided. That's why it's an open question. And because it is an open question, I do use it far less often than I used to. But in this conversation with my good friend, they said they think postmodernism is dying. Postmodernism is collapsing. We are collectively, or postmodernity, not postmodernism. They said they think the era of postmodernity is coming to a close. We are moving into something else, a new epoch, a new era, a new age, or maybe just a new relation to the concept of history, to the concept of the social, to the concept of the political. And I think that is highly likely to be true, though I don't know. Once again, I'm not convinced. And then in another conversation with another good friend of mine, the kind of notion of history and epics came up, and like it does seem to be the case that I'm not the only one who feels like we're living at a pivotal moment. Now, I don't think this is like a spectacular, sensational revelation. I think most people do feel that way, but actually having conversations about like more specific things, it's not just this vague sense that we are living in interesting times, but it does seem to be the case that, the political, the social, the economy, subjectivity itself, all these things are, changing. Everything is under a lot of pressure right now. Everything is kind of in a pressure cooker right now. And yeah, I don't know. It's a little more concrete when you actually talk about like specifics rather than just vaguely saying, I feel like we are living in a pivotal moment. Because once again, everybody always says that. And I think everybody always feels that in general. Now, in general, not everybody always all the time. That's absurd. I try not to make those statements as well, although sometimes they are warranted. But so like having, personal conversations with people whom I know and have a certain level of trust, that's one thing to kind of reinforce this hunch that things are changing, that society is moving into a new era or something. Maybe not a new era entirely, but a new relation. Subjects and society and the world itself is changing. And all the relations are going to get jumbled up and changed around and stuff. I also saw this little YouTube girl. I can't even remember her name now, but she made a video. I can't remember what it was called. It had something to do with cringe, or maybe it was effort. Like maybe I don't know, but it had something to do with cringe and or effort. And this is like a Gen Z girl. She makes YouTube video essays about stuff. I think the video might have been about Minecraft, the Minecraft movie. The video was definitely kind of framed around the Minecraft movie. She used the Minecraft movie to explain what she was talking about. But I don't know, the title might have said something specifically about Minecraft, or the thumbnail might have had something specifically about Minecraft. I don't know. I don't remember. It was several days ago. I watched the video. I actually want to go back and watch it again. Because, yeah, I want to talk about it. And if I'm going to talk about a thing, I should actually know it. I shouldn't just be like, yeah, I kind of feel that way. But, like, her broad argument was that, was it irony? Was irony, cringe, effort? I don't know, something. But basically, her broad argument is like ironic enjoyment. Like people, Zoomers, are going to the Minecraft movie and they're dressing up in fancy-ish suits, nice suits. Like they're putting on like nice clothes. And they're going to see the Minecraft movie with their friends and they're having a good time. And they are like making messes in the theater and they're doing too much. They're definitely doing too much as far as being burdens on the theater employees. But they are genuinely going and enjoying and genuinely going and having a good time. And she was talking about how that is a response to kind of enshittification. It's a response to the fact that everything sucks. Like kids go to the movie theater and all the movies suck. It's all just the same movie over and over again. Superheroes, America is the good guys versus all the bad guys in the world. Capitalism will ultimately solve the world's problems and we don't have to worry because we can technologically optimize our way out of any mess we find ourselves in. We will figure this all out. And it's all, cloaked in a pretty pointed, I think, like nationalism or, quote unquote patriotism. Like America or the West in general is always the good guys and, the other is always the bad guy. And it's, spectacular. Even like the Fast and the Furious movies that started out being, movies about, bad guys robbing trucks and like the interpersonal relationships. And then now all of a sudden, like the last several Fast and Furious movies have been America versus terrorists and these renegade car drivers, race car drivers, and used to be thieves. They're now fighting for the good guys. They're now on Team America. It's just absurd. Like everything sucks. And kids are going to the theater and having fun. Nevertheless, they're like, yeah, this movie sucks. We don't actually like this movie. We are aware of the fact that this movie is poorly written. We are aware of the fact that this movie has very little quote unquote artistic value. It's just shit. It's just slop. It is what it is. The commodity can no longer satisfy itself. And so there is this kind of surplus. And rather than allowing the surplus desire or demand, like you have a desire or a demand in the context of movies, because that's what she used to talk about it. That's what I'm using to talk about it right now. But there's a demand or a desire for a movie, a good movie. And when all the movies kind of suck, you go to see all the movies and they all suck. And there's still this kind of surplus demand. And if you don't do something with that surplus, it curdles and it becomes rancid. And it can very much become like what we saw with like the Gamergate era. Like everybody was just like a toxic, shitty person, like the gaming industry. I think that was a very complex thing, but definitely there was like a surplus demand for good video games. And that surplus became rancid and was a part of the kind of gaming subculture where everybody was just like a shitty, toxic, nasty person who just wanted to talk shit. And they were kind of like very reactionary and, it was all stupid. If you don't find a way to deal with the surplus desire or demand for good movies, it can largely become that, like this just like detached, ironic, caustic ennui. It's like everything sucks. Fuck it. It doesn't matter anyway. But also it's everyone else's fault. So it seems to be the case that like Gen Z are taking like this surplus desire, surplus demand for good movies, entertaining movies. And they're sublating it themselves. Like they're doing this thing where they're like, yeah, the movie sucks. It's not actually good, but we're going to have fun anyway. We're going to put on good clothes and we're going to make TikToks about it. And we're going to go out into the world regardless. And have fun because it's better than sitting back and just being shitty and being miserable. And it's cool. It's cool to see that. I think now this was just her kind of analysis. And like I said, I half watched the video. I didn't deeply get into it. I'm missing a lot of stuff. I'm sure I should have watched it before I talked about it. I should have rewatched it and actually paid more attention. But alas, I didn't do that. But that's my take of her take. And I like it. And I think I largely agree with her. I largely think it is true. Like that is what Gen Z is doing. Like Gen Z has reached this moment where there's like a dawning collective realization that everything sucks and everything is just getting worse. And you're not going to find satisfaction in the commodity. You have to work to create your own satisfaction. I think that's what's going on now. I think largely most of the people involved aren't aware of what's going on, like explicitly. They haven't had conversations about like, we should do this to lift ourselves up, or else we'll just become like shitty, jaded assholes, and we'll spend all our time on Facebook being post-ironic and being nihilistic and doing this kind of black pill. Oh, woe is me. It's the end of history. It's the end of the future. Everything sucks. I don't think they're really aware of it. I think they just like, they're doing it and it's working for them. And so more people are doing it and they're just having fun. And, I see it with my kids. they're just able to like have fun and like take joy in things because they create their own joy. Like they have this transcendental joy where they're like, yeah, everything sucks. The world's a horrible place. We're all going to die soon. It is what it is. But let's just have a little bit of fun. Because if we're all sitting around miserable, making it worse, we're only going to make it worse. And I think that's cool. I think it's awesome. And I do think that's what's happening. And I think it's, it's like a cyclical thing. I think the quote unquote millennials went through the same thing. That's why all this stuff where people are talking about like millennial cringe and people are like, is cringe having a comeback? And is it time to embrace millennial cringe and this and that? Like, I think that was the same thing when millennials started doing the cringe. I think they were aware of kind of the end of history. And they said, yeah, screw it. We're going to have fun. We're going to do our thing regardless. We're not going to be determined by the kind of neoliberal, solipsistic hellhole that the world has become. And I think it's really cool. And I think it goes hand in hand with like effort. Because effort, showing your effort is kind of seen as cringe, right? It's embarrassing. You want to disavow it. You want to hide it. It's a cringy thing. I think the ability to just enjoy things, ironically or not, like it doesn't really matter. Like the fact that you can just like take joy in the world and create joy in the world where there is no joy to be found. I think that goes hand in hand with not being embarrassed of your own effort and being able to just say like, yeah, I do take this seriously. I do try hard. I was not born this way. I did not wake up like this. I do actually have to try hard, and it's important to try hard. And as a matter of fact, you should try hard too, because whatever this is, I think it's real and I think it does matter. And I think it should be good, and we should make it as good as we can make it, because if no one is out here trying, like if we all stop trying, everything is just going to be the Minecraft movie. And I don't think anybody wants a world full of nothing but Minecraft movies. So I think it's cool that people are kind of publicly allowing themselves to have fun. I wish it wasn't so disruptive to the kind of social order. And I think the kids, in quotes, will figure that out eventually. It does seem to be the case that, post-modernity is coming to a close. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the churn. Maybe everything is just happening so quickly. It just feels like we're in this infinite free fall. And maybe that's it. But I have a hunch that we are moving into some kind of new epic, new era. And I have a hunch that it's coinciding with the youth of today having like this collective realization that like, just because you were born into a shitty world that continues to get worse, doesn't mean it's necessarily going to get worse, and doesn't mean that it's like necessarily already determined to be shitty. Like you can make the world around you a better place. What am I saying? Now I sound cringe, right? Now I sound a bit absurd. Now I sound like maybe I'm taking it a bit too far. I'm huffing unicorn farts. And I don't think that's true. Look, nothing is going to change just because people are okay to kind of expose themselves publicly. And we're not always in this defensive mode where it's always a zero-sum game and it's always like economized and it's always a binary, because this is what capital does to us all, right? Puts us all in defense mode, and it turns everything into a math problem that we have to solve. And we can't be weak and we can't be seen to be imperfect. I don't think that seeming to change is like the end all be all change that we need to see in the world. And now we can get right back to our utopian vision, because the world is horrible. But I do think that if we can collectively get over ourselves and be willing to expose ourselves to lack and negativity and difference and weakness and imperfection. Like if we are willing to, lie on our back and expose our underbelly to the world and say, I am weak. But then roll over and get right back up and say, that doesn't mean I give up. Just because I might be weak, just because I am fallible, just because I have these lacks, and the world is a world of negation and negativity and difference, and it doesn't mean we shouldn't try to make the world a better place. And I think once we get there, then we can actually start to conceptualize the change that needs to happen to actually make the world a better place. Because I think I don't know what that was. I think that's what's standing in the way of like actual large scale structural change is that we are all, precarious solipsists who are on our last legs, and we're stuck in this like scarcity mindset, and we're all in defense mode. We're all in protector mode. So if we can get over that, then maybe we might be able to start really talking about, really thinking about actual change in the world. And I think that's a good thing. So I guess I'm excited. I guess it all comes back to effort. I don't feel like I have to hide the effort. Now, again, it's a thing that I will continue to do. I'm sure. It's not like I'm always gonna be open with it. And I do think it is important, sometimes it is important to just get straight to business and not do this whole preamble and start everything off with a caveat, like just so you're aware, this was actually hard for me. That's not the way I think anybody should handle it. Because then you're starting to get into like my lived experience and my background. And I have to tell you all about my background before I can actually tell you the thing I want to tell you. That's not it. It's just the case that, you don't have to be so defensive all the time. I don't have to be so defensive all the time. And I don't know, I'm excited about that. And I think I see that in other people as well, specifically with younger people, with people who spend an awful lot of time on the internet. It does seem to be the case that there is a movement to a more, open point of view in general. Like the general digital subject seems to be one who is more willing to embrace vulnerability. And that, I think, is a good thing. Now, this is, again, I'm trying not to make broad, sweeping generalizations. I'm trying not to make any prescriptive statements or be normative, although I am, of course, I'm doing that. But it's also not necessary. This is definitely kind of contingent on my point of view and what I've seen and what I've exposed myself to. So I could be totally wrong. But I don't think I'm totally wrong. So anyway, this has been another installment of, hold on, the Nance Cast. Thank you all for listening to the Nance Cast, and we'll be back with you soon. Got a lot of cool ideas, a lot of cool stuff coming up. And of course, those of you watching may be aware of the fact that I'll be going off and doing just my own thing. I'm glad you guys are here. And I'm just hopeful that everybody is able to achieve the things that they are setting out to achieve. I appreciate you guys continuing to be here. And I'm feeling good about the future. So thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening to the Nance Cast. We'll see you soon.